For today's review, we have set 31132 Viking ship and the Midgard Serpent containing 1,192 pieces and retailing for $120 back in 2022. Something cool that I actually didn't know about this set was that this is actually a reimagined version of set 7018 Viking ship challenges the Midgard Serpent from 2005. Now, if you want to purchase this set off of Bricklink today, the average price new is going to be $126, and if you want to purchase it used, the average price is going to be $0 because nobody has any used versions available for sale. For our minifigures, the set comes with 4 minifigures total. We get 2 male Viking minifigures, one with a sword and one with a double-bladed axe. Then we get 2 female Viking warriors, one coming with a spear and the other with a normal axe. And I'm a big fan of the hairpiece on this particular one right here. Here's a better look at their faces without the accessories. And flipping them around, we can see that they don't have any alternate faces, but they do all have back torso printing. So here we have our 2 side builds for this set, and I decided to combine them together because one is very small and we can get out of the way very quickly. So this is what I assume is a brick built bull slash ox. The only thing I'm going to say about this is, I'm not too big of a fan of brick built animals, at least not small ones like this. I prefer bigger ones because you can get their anatomy correct and put a lot of detail into them, but these I don't really like. I would prefer a mold, but you do get it in the set, so we'll just set that to the side for now. Now we also get the Midgard Serpent here. Now this is a pretty cool serpent. I like the color scheme that they chose for it, the turquoise and this light blue with these little hints of purple in there. Looks pretty good. One thing I would have liked to have seen is either a white or a tan on the front, just kind of to indicate the front of the serpent, because not always, but a good majority of the time serpent like creatures have kind of a lighter chest area, and then the back is obviously whatever color you want it to be, but they'll have a lighter area for their stomach portion. Another thing that this serpent possesses is a lot of mobility. So there is mobility in the mouth, so you can open and close that, as you can see there. There's also some modified plates in the head, as you can see here, so you can kind of move the head up like so in different sections, so you can move it back here too. The way it's connected to the body, you can also swivel the head, so you can kind of turn it and make it look in different directions, which is nice as well. And then from there, there's not any movement until you get to right here, where you get some ratchet joints, so you can twist these and move them up and down. You can turn them, stuff like that, and that goes for each individual section. And one thing that's kind of cool that you can do is something like this, so you can make it seem like its body is kind of out of the water if you had some water here. But again, there is also these joints which stand out a lot, which I'm not too big of a fan of. I just don't really like how much they stand out. There's a lot of gray and black that's visible, and that also goes for this front area too. I think the biggest issue is here. I think here it's more debatable, or at least it's more loud in this area because there's mobility back here. But up here you have this build here that helps it sit upright, and there's a lot of black and gray visible right here, which really bugs me because they could have covered this up easily. They could have put a plate here, a plate there, plate here, and that would have just covered it up more. But there's so much visible gray and black. Even in the head, there's black in this mechanism, gray, and then in these individual sections you can see gray and black in each section, which is really annoying. Another thing is the anatomy of this neck here is just super flat. I think here you could get away with it more on the front, but there's also this gray here, which is annoying. But the back, I feel like it's the biggest issue. There is anti-studs, but that's not an issue for me. The issue is more that it isn't rounded, kind of like this is right here. If this back was rounded, it would appear more like a serpent in the back, which would have been a nice addition to the serpent. But overall, it's a pretty good build. From there, we have the Viking ship, which is a little bit too big for my setup, so we're gonna have to take a look at it in sections, but doing that, we can get a closer look at all the details. Starting with the front of the boat, we have a dragon head on the front here, which does look like it's been carved into the actual head of the boat, which I think they did a really good job with in making it look that way. It just makes more sense. Going down from there, you get to these front area of the boat here as well, where you have these layers coming out, which is very nice. I think it just gives it that Viking feel a lot more. I also like the way that the colors are following that layer as well towards the side of the boat. So then we get to this part right here where you can see some of the color scheme. So you have some yellow down here, the blue still following the outer area. You also get some brick built shields, and I believe in the original one you got actual shields, but I can only imagine how expensive it would have been to include those shields in here, because on Bricks and Pieces they're probably like $6 or $7 depending on the shield you're trying to get, and who knows if they still have the designs and molds for those shields anyways. But continuing on from there, we get more of the same back here, more layers, more of that color following those layers, which is very nice. We also get the tail of the dragon, which again, they did a good job in keeping it with the same kind of carved style back here. And then you can see some of the main back of the boat here with some, slopes here and stuff like that. Some tiles doing that, work back there and keeping that same technique. On the other side, it's more of the same stuff, more of these layers, more of the color scheme coming around, more brick built shields here, and then coming back to the front again and seeing the rest of the dragon in the front. Before moving into the interior or actual deck of the ship, I wanted to talk about the actual sail, because I think it's a pretty good sail. It's brick built, so it has all these tiles coming out the front, and it's rounded at the bottom, which is very cool. The one thing that I dislike about it though is the back. So the back has all these anti-studs, and I just don't think it looks very good in the back, so I kind of wish they would have gone with a cloth or vinyl piece for this. Probably cloth, because it just makes more sense, but I think that just would have looked better. But this doesn't look bad at all from the front. It's just the back that I have an issue with for this particular sail. A cool thing too is they stabilize it with all these pieces as well, these rubbery pieces. I do wish that this black piece, I don't know if there is a recolor for it in brown, but I feel like that would have been a nice addition. But they don't recolor stuff unless it's necessary. Another cool thing is, how I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not a big fan of brick built animals, but these actually give the illusion of crows up here. So these I think I'm okay with. These are perfectly fine. I think from a distance you wouldn't be able to tell, but again, I still prefer molds to brick built animals in most cases. So getting into the deck / interior, we're going to start off with the front. So the main thing going on in the front is this ballista type build here. So it has a function, but I wanted to show off that you can actually put a minifigure back here, and you can sit them right there, just kind of like they're manning the ballista and shooting it at the serpent that's included in the set. And I believe you can move this up and down here as well, like so, if you would like, so you can aim it up and down. But it also has the function of actually being able to shoot. So you can see there it uses a rubber band as the function to shoot out with some built stuff, but you can pull this back and all these right here work as the bullets, and it's going to be a little bit harder to showcase this on camera, but I'm going to do my best here. And let me aim this up so you can see where this goes to some degree, but you can pull this right here back and then just let go, and it shoots out pretty well. And you get a load of ammunition for that too, which is very cool. I really like how this function works. It's kind of hard to actually shoot it if you want to shoot it straight and stuff like that, but shooting it to the right and left works super well, and I think that the function actually works very well as well. But again, not a big fan of elastic stuff unless they are going to include an extra rubber band, so that over the years you can replace it once that loses its elasticity from doing this so often. Continuing on from there, if we move the boat to the right a little bit here, in the middle you can see there's a lot of empty space, which is a good thing. I think this is good. Usually there's so much space in boats, it gets so crowded that you don't have space to place minifigures, like they're walking around and stuff like that. So I think that having some level of empty space in there is very good. The flag kind of gets in the way here, the sail, so that is annoying, but you still can get your hands in here to try to place your minifigures both in the left and right side there, which is nice that there is that much empty space. In the back you have a seating area, so you can see there is a cup here. Let me move this back. Actually, there's a cup here, some seats as well, so you can take this. Let me take the same minifigure that I just used, and let me try to set them in there. Oops, that did not go well. Let me try to set them in there perfectly still. Come on, this one's a little bit harder. So you can sit them in there like so, and then you can, you have 4 seats, 2 on each side, so you can sit all 4 of the ones that you get in this. And you can have them sitting there chatting around, eating, because you also have some food back here being dried up by the flames in there, which is cool. You also have this little barrel in here that you can pull out, and it actually has some gems in it. So you can see that, you know, they've kind of either been plundering or they've been finding some level of treasure there, which is pretty cool. So I'm just gonna set this, well, I'm gonna close this and set this off to the side. And then that's really it. That's really all you get in the build. It's not much in terms of like a lot of detail, but I think that that kind of makes sense for a ship because it's a Viking ship. Viking ships probably don't have, you know, how pirate boats have these big, tall things, and Viking ships are always low. They have what they need. They don't have wants, right? They have what they need. So they have, you know, ballista, fighting off enemies, a little area to eat, that makes sense, a little area to cook their food, that makes sense, and then this area right here so that they have, you know, the space to walk around makes a lot of sense as well. And one thing that I forgot to mention too is that there is actually weapon holders for this ship. So you can see two here in the front. There's one right there, one right there. Both of those clips are for holding your weapons, and then there is some back here as well. So there's one right there, and then there's this one that I'm using right now just to show you guys how it looks to have a weapon in there. So again, this is everything you get in set 31132 Viking ship in the Midgard Serpent, containing 1,192 pieces and retailing for $120 back in 2022. Now, of course, the question is, does this set feel like it's worth $120? Well, the answer is going to be yes. Starting with the minifigures, I feel like the minifigures are a great selection. I would have liked to have seen one more though. All these are warriors, so I feel like some type of butcher would have been cool, you know, with some meat hanging in the back by those fish that are cooking, and you know, that would have been a cool addition for the minifigure side of things, because again, these are all warriors. So a different, you know, kind of more of a civilian type role would have been cool for a minifigure as well. Not a big fan of the ox, honestly, could have done without it. If they got rid of this and just brought that other minifigure in, that would have been better for me, in my opinion. The Midgard Serpent itself is cool as well. It has a great color scheme and some great mobility. The only issues, again, are the kind of inclusion of so much gray and black and not trying to cover it up. And then some anatomy issues that, you know, are usually quite minor for this particular build. However, everything else is fine on the Serpent though. Then we have the actual ship itself. Now the ship itself is great, I think. I think they did a good job with the design of the head up front and then the back of the boat as well. And these layers just make the boat look very good. There's the ballista as well. It works very well too. So I'm happy with the way that is. There's also the back area where you can set some minifigures to eat, so that's cool. And that's really all you need in a ship like this. You don't really need anything else because they didn't really have much like that in those times, really. So it's fine that there's that a good amount of space in the middle. I think the only thing that, you know, could have been cool and made it a little bit better was some type of weapons rack would have been cool, with some extra weapons in there, so that, you know, you can switch out the weapons with the minifigures that you have here, you know, because that would have just been a cool addition to have in one of these areas, maybe on the back side or the right side of the ship over there where the little plate is, the sail is setting at. That would have been a cool spot for kind of a weapons rack. But other than that, the ship itself is great. I think the design is great. There's not really many complaints I have with it other than the back of the sail and then like these little things being black instead of brown, but that's not too big of an issue overall. So yes, I do think that this set was worth the $120 back in 2022, but as always, there's always some improvements they could have made, mainly to the minifigure selection and, you know, the Serpent. The main build itself is perfectly fine, and this is also a creator 3-in-1, but I always like building the main build versus, you know, the other two builds, because the main build uses all the pieces and usually looks the best. But that's going to conclude my review of set 31132 Viking ship and the Midgard Serpent. As always, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking the video, and if you are enjoying the content overall, consider subscribing. It is completely free and helps me out in the long run. Now, as always, I will see you guys in my next video.